Good afternoon. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to the school board meeting this Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023. Mrs. Ziegler isn't here at this time, and I will be filling in. Karen Rose, Vice Chair. The public is encouraged and welcome to address the school board at the hearing of citizens. At 4:01 p.m., the meeting will be paused. The board is conducting a public hearing on instructional materials being recommended for adoption, K-12 mathematics and social studies. Once the hearing of citizens begins, no more cards will be collected. I will call you forward at that appropriate time. I would like to welcome Sarasota High School JROTC under the direction of doesn't say. Wyatt Wrigley. Thank you, Wyatt Wrigley. Wyatt, if you'd like to lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms. Backwards, step. Center, face. Forward, march. Pose. Colors. Freeze it. Arms. Order. Arms. Center. Face. Forward. March. Forward, step. Right face. Forward, march.
All right, once again, welcome Wyatt from Sarasota High School. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Wyatt Wrigley. I am a junior at Sarasota High School. I am enrolled in the Sarasota High School ACE program and Master Research programs. I'm a part of Science National Honor Society and also a part of the varsity tennis team. Outside of school, I like to sail and volunteer at the hospital at Sarasota Memorial, and I like to have fun with friends and family. After high school, I would like to pursue a career in medicine and go to the University of Florida.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We'd like to thank you for serving as our representative, and I do have a certificate of participation for you, Wyatt.
Thank you.
We wish Wyatt all the luck in his future. And now for the superintendent's report, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, or Madam Vice Chair. Today's in our superintendent's report, I have a few highlights, and I want to begin by highlighting some of the items that are on our consent agenda. I know sometimes we pass our consent agenda very quickly, and a lot of our constituents and public don't necessarily get an opportunity to read what's on our consent agenda. So I'd like to take a moment to highlight a few of our items so that people understand what we're passing. So the first item is item number 9, which is our contract with Core SRQ for kids swim lesson. This is a project that is funded by the Keith Monda Family Foundation. We're very, very grateful for their donation to ensure that every second grader in Sarasota County has the opportunity to participate in a week of water safety. So that's a great item. We want to make sure that people recognize the great partnership we have in our district. Also, I want to share on item 10, anytime we have a data sharing agreement, I understand that there may be concerns about what data we are sharing with individuals. This particular agreement is between Curriculum Associates, or otherwise known as iReady, where we're actually taking data from that particular platform and putting it into our Performance Matters platform, which is the platform we use to generate data reports that we can manipulate and analyze in different formats. So that agreement is really important for us to ensure that we're taking diagnostic data that we're arriving from the diagnostic tests that are in that system and being able to make instructional decisions. So again, we have all the privacy, all the protections afforded by our laws to ensure that that data is secure. The next item, two items actually are related, and I'm very, very proud to say that recently at Riverview High School, the band was surprised with an invitation to come to London for the band to march in the London New Year's Parade. So congratulations to Riverview High School. This international performance opportunity will be for the Kilty Band, and that field trip is scheduled for December of 2024, so they have about a year to fundraise. And excitedly, my daughter should be in that, so that's really good. And not only did Riverview, the next item, which I think is a pretty unprecedented, that we have two schools in the district being invited to that, and that is Venice High School. So let's congratulate those two schools. That's an extremely cool event. You know, it's always great for an opportunity just to recognize the hard work that our team does. And this yesterday was National Custodial Appreciation Day. And so we have a short video we'd like to share about
our district is made up of dozens of schools and office buildings, totaling over 8.5 million square feet that need care and upkeep every day. Because of the dedicated and hardworking men and women on our facilities teams, our classrooms, cafeterias, and common areas create a welcoming learning environment for everyone. In honor of National Custodian Day, we want to recognize these school district heroes for their commitment to keeping our campuses and offices safe and clean. You're an important part of each school family, and we greatly appreciate the pride you take in your work. We wouldn't be the amazing district we are without our custodians. On behalf of the school district, I want to personally thank you. And the next time that you see a custodian, be sure to thank them as well.
Let's give a round of applause for all of our custodians out there. Want to highlight that the week of October 9th through the 13th will be National School Lunch Week. This is an opportunity for our staff and volunteers who have been invited to sign up to be VIP guest servers to assist our food and nutrition services staff and to connect with our awesome students. Looking forward to that. In Pineview, we want to recognize as a National Blue Ribbon Awards school. This is a tremendous honor for our schools. There's only 14 schools in Florida who have been identified, and only 353 schools nationally. So the United States Secretary of Education announced that Pineview has been named a Blue Ribbon School, so let's give them a round of applause for their exemplary performance. We also want to recognize Booker High as being honored by the FHSAA Hall of Fame. So we want to congratulate them of one of 10 schools to receive a commemorative award as an original member of the Florida Interscholastic Athletic Association. So let's thank them for that. You may have heard recently on the website Niche, which is ranks pretty much every school across the nation, came out with their new latest rankings, and Sarasota County Schools, based on their algorithm, has ranked Sarasota #1 district in the state of Florida for many reasons. It's interesting to look at the algorithm of what they look. They look at data, they look at reviews, they look at a lot of things to make those rankings. So it's always good to be number one. So let's congratulate ourselves, pat ourselves on the back for that. And then last week, we had a great time. The first time in 15 years, we got to break ground on a new school. And it was a great ceremony. I want to thank our operations team for putting together such a great event. And will be our Sky Ranch K-8 school. Yet to be named. We're calling it Sky Ranch now because it's right near that neighborhood. But we will have an official naming down the road. And then how can we not forget? I know it's been a couple of weeks since we've had our new principals at our two new schools who have been on the job, but we have not had an opportunity to formally recognize them in this board meeting. I want to welcome our new principal to Sarasota High School, formerly of Brookside Middle School, Dr. Ryan Chase. Please stand up and just say congratulations. And then we have a great candidate coming from outside the district, Dr. Nate Francis, who will be starting as Dr. Chase's replacement at Brookside Middle. And we're looking forward to having Dr. Francis here, starting with us very, very soon. And that is it for me, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Superintendent Connor. Now moving on to hearing of citizens and the public hearing. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. When the timer flashes yellow, 1 minute remains and you need to begin to summarize. You must stop speaking when the buzzer rings. To the audience, please note that respect for divergent viewpoints and civility will be shown at every board meeting. Whether you agree or disagree with a speaker, you should listen politely and respectfully without making any sounds of approval or disapproval, including clapping. I recognize there is a lot of passion and emotion with the decisions that come before this board and the impact they have on our students, families, staff, and community. As such, I believe it is important that we afford the opportunity for every speaker to be heard. To my fellow board members, any comments during hearing of citizens that you would like to respond to will take place at the conclusion of public comment. My request is that when you respond, you keep it to the issues that have been brought forward and refrain from directing it to any individual of the public. Per state statute 1001.372(3), anyone causing a disruption will first be given a warning, and if the conduct does not stop, you will be removed from the chambers. I'd like to call up, I believe it's Gabrielle Lennon, followed by Barbara Vaughn. If you could please state your name for the record.
That you guys are going to have some decisions in the somewhat near future regarding how you're going to be treating LGBT children in the school district. So I would like to talk to you about some of those issues, being that LGBT children, most especially transgender children, are being scapegoated by the government right now in horrible ways, and these are innocent children. These are precious, innocent children, just like any other precious, innocent child. There's a lot of disinformation being circulated about transgender people, but because you guys are going to be deciding policies that directly affect them, I am requesting that you please educate yourselves, and you educate yourselves not based on algorithms of a particular political party, but that you educate yourselves truly and sincerely about these issues and about what being transgender really means. It's a medical condition, and where a child in the mother's uterus, first trimester, reproductive system is formed. Later trimesters, varying degrees of hormones wash the brain, and usually the brain structurally ends up matching the reproductive system of the child, but sometimes it is reversed based on DNA, and the child ends up transgender, which means they have a brain that is one gender and a reproductive system that is a different gender. It's as simple as that. And all of the medical associations that are legitimate, they all say that transition is the only way for transgender people to have peace of mind, because we are our brains, we're not our bodies. And one of the issues is the bathroom issue. Can transgender children use the correct bathroom, which would be the bathroom of the gender they identify as? This is very important. Everybody goes into a stall in a bathroom, or can go into a stall, and being the boys' bathroom, I guess, But anyway, so everyone can have their privacy in a bathroom, and no one is like looking at anybody in a bathroom. And it's very important because if even single stall is not a good alternative, because if you say, oh yeah, this kid has to go into a single stall bathroom, number one, a lot of single stall bathrooms are so far away from their classes that the transgender child needs to make a choice of either being late to class or holding it in. Number two, it completely outs the child. If a child's only going to a single stall bathroom at all times, then it says this child is transgender, which
Thank
is very
you.
dangerous.
Thank you very much. Barbara Vaughn, followed by Sebastian Gerstel, please.
Hi, my name is Barbara Vaughn, and as usual, I'm going to pray. Father God, we give you thanks and praise because it is incumbent upon us to do so. You have blessed us so richly with the lives that we lead in one of the most beautiful parts of the country, maybe the world. We thank you, Lord, for people who come to this school board meeting, those who work here, as well as those who come to observe and participate. Lord Jesus, we ask you to be with our children, to protect them from the evil that assaults them every day, and be with their parents, Lord. Help their parents understand that as busy as they are, trying to keep the family together and keep body and soul together, that their first responsibility must be to their child. They must be loving and caring and passing on their Judeo-Christian beliefs. Lord Jesus, our children are assailed by every other kind of notion in the world, in the outside of the home, and even inside these days. We ask you, Lord, to keep our parents very aware of what's happening with their children and help their children understand what they need to grow into and grow up to be. We ask you, Lord, to be with all the adults who interact with our children, that they would be like-minded and espouse the same values that we espouse for our children. Thank you, Jesus, for listening to our prayers, for our school board members, and for our children, and especially today for the parents. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Sebastian Gerstel, followed by Leila Newcomb.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, board members, Superintendent Connor. I'm Sebastian Gerstel, a junior at Riverview High School. Just as reading or math are foundational skills to personal success, civic education is a foundational skill to the success of our nation. It is a necessity for the next generation to carry the torch of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and to ensure the successful operation of our government along with its long-term prosperity. This can only be guaranteed with a strong civic education. Yesterday, I sent to all board members, including Mr. Connor, a much-needed civic enrichment policy that would have a direct positive impact on the long-term civic education of all Sarasota County school students. One example of this is 9/11, a monumental day for our nation and the world, where it was pledged that we would never forget. I'm here to sadly report that we are forgetting, both nationally and here locally. At Riverview, I'm the chairman of the Young Americans for Freedom Club. We annually do our 9/11 Memorial Project, where in partnership with Riverview's fantastic JROTC, we set up a memorial consisting of signs and planting 2,977 flags, one for each life lost, to ensure that Riverview never forgets. I'd also like to thank Mrs. Marnelli and Mrs. Rose for attending that event. Through my experience in speaking with my peers, it became clear that had our club not done the memorial, Riverview would have forgotten, which is why the first policy I sent to you all would mandate 45 minutes of specialized instruction on the impact and history of 9/11 annually on 9/11, or the week of. Also in the email was a video composed by Riverview sophomore Annabelle Ramallo for her speech class, instructed by 2001 Sarasota County School Teacher of the Year, Deborah Bryan. The video highlighted the scary need for bolstered civic education. When numerous students cannot answer the simple question of how many amendments there are, or what liberties the First Amendment secures, then we are truly not preparing the next generation to lead our country. Which is why the second policy would mandate 45 minutes of specialized instruction on the Constitution and its 27 amendments annually during Constitution Day or the week of. Both areas are necessary for the long-term success of every student's civic education. So, board members, Mr. Connor, let us turn Sarasota into a leader in making civic education a foundational skill for all students through enacting the policies I suggested or something of similar substance. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Newcomb, followed by Dr. Jill Lewis-Spector.
Hi, Leela Newcomb, grandma of 3. I believe that part of a decent education goes beyond learning facts and spitting them out for a test for scores. That's certainly important, but even more so would be the ability to think about what we hear or learn and maybe even come up with our own conclusions. It would be called critical thinking. Of course, that not to be confused with critical race theory, perish the thought. The ability to come up with one's own ideas is what makes up our leaders, whether political or otherwise, inventors, scientists, our successful businessmen, our artists, the ones that stand out from the crowd. Don't we want this for our children? So what is everyone so afraid of? Whitewashing history, reading into things and seeing things that are not even there, gutting tried and true curriculums, which may or may not poison somebody's mind, banning this, that, or the other thing, and based on what? Example, I'm confused. What constitutes porn? A children's book about penguins who have 2 dads? Where does that describe what goes on in the privacy of one's bedroom? And the difference between this and a book about parents of opposite genders? How is that not porn then? I think it's adults allowing their own imaginations to run wild because no child is going to even think of that on their own. And what in the heck is the difference? What is everybody so afraid of? I've also been hearing some pretty awful fear-based things lately, things coming out of the mouths of people. Not naming any names, but I quote, "Families who are accepting of their gay children are all perverts." It's gotten pretty hard to muster up any respect lately. The out-of-control fear and brainwashing is trickling down, trust me. My 12-year-old granddaughter, who actually does know how to think, thank heavens, was having a chat with a ballet friend who said she was not going to wear tie-dye anymore. And why? Because it's rainbow. My granddaughter said, you know, no one turns gay by looking at a rainbow. The other girl said, actually, that can happen. Seriously, 12 years old. And, you know, I just think we're in trouble. And we need to be thinking about things like this and not stuff like districts and other distractions. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
On standby, Sebastian Martinez, followed by Reverend Jay Wolin.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Jill Lewis-Spector, and I'm speaking today on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Sarasota. First, I want to remind everyone that entries to the Why Vote contest our league is conducting in partnership with Sarasota district schools are due October 17th. The first place winner for the essay poster and video contest will each receive $500, thanks to the generosity of Gulf Coast Community Foundation. Second and third place winners will receive a little less. Information can be found at the League's website. Second, this is LGBTQ Awareness and History Month, and each year it's marked with spectacular events celebrating the history and achievements of this community. Orange County School District Superintendent and the District School Board Chair issued a proclamation recognizing this month that states, whereas all students have the right to attend school in a safe and welcoming environment free from harassment or discrimination, and whereas harassment and bullying policies that specifically mention sexual orientation and gender identity and expression are associated with students feeling more safe, lower levels of bullying, decreased incidence of harassment related to sexual orientation, increased teacher-staff intervention, and greater reporting of incidents, and whereas the School Board of Orange County's policy currently provides protections for students and employees on the basis of race, color, religion, age, sex, national origin, marital status, disability, sexual orientation, genetic information, gender identity or expression, language spoken, homelessness, or any other reason prohibited by law. And whereas a lack of awareness and understanding on issues facing LGBTQ+ children and youth has contributed to higher rates of isolation, depression, and suicidal ideations, and whereas national studies have revealed that discrimination at school has contributed to high absenteeism, academic underachievement, and school dropout rates among LGBTQ+ youth, and whereas awareness about inclusiveness cultivates acceptance and respect for all children, now therefore the School Board of Orange County, Florida, does hereby proclaim October 23rd as LGBTQ+ Awareness and History Month in Orange County Public Schools. The League of Women Voters of Sarasota requests that the Sarasota School District issue a similar proclamation. Many of our students belong to this community. We want them to know that they belong here, that they are safe here, that we respect them. Don't Sarasotans have as much love and acceptance for these students as Orange County School District? Thank you.
Reverend J. Wilson is on deck, followed by Jennifer Means.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Mr. Superintendent. Is that on? My name is Sebastian Martinez, and I'm a graduate student from Booker High School. And today I wanted to speak about providing free lunches to every student regardless of income. To ask the board to consider a universal school lunch program using a community eligibility provision from the Department of Agriculture, or having our qualifying schools participate in this community eligibility program. I believe a good majority of people can agree that it is important for kids to be fed healthy and nutritious food, and the ideal scenario is that no kid should be hungry at school or miss a meal because they're in debt. Hillsborough County uses this program, and I believe our students and families would greatly benefit from it. Providing free meals to every student would help remove the stigma around free and reduced lunches, or the embarrassment of owing the school money and you can't get lunch in front of your friends, but the underlying message is that our kids deserve to eat. When students go hungry, skip a meal, or have to rely on a teacher giving them a small snack of crackers and baby tomatoes during 7th period, then that child isn't learning at their best capacity. Our students should have every opportunity to learn at the fullest, and as a district, we should be working on removing every barrier within our power to ensure that our students can focus on exploring new knowledge, asking questions, and engaging in their education. Ensuring that our kids aren't hungry is just one of those good steps we can take that isn't partisan and helps everybody. Alta Vista Elementary, Atwater Elementary, Booker High, Brentwood Elementary, Brookside Middle, Cranberry Elementary, Dreamers Academy, Emma E. Booker Elementary, Englewood Elementary, Fruitville Elementary, Garden Elementary, Glen Helen Elementary, Goshio Elementary, Gulf Gate Elementary, Heron Creek Middle, Imagine Charter, McIntosh Middle, SSAS, SMA, Toledo Blade, Triad, Tuttle, Wilkinson, Woodland, and Oak Park are all schools that qualify for this program. Over 60% of our schools are eligible for, or near eligible schools to give free lunches to every kid. 17,524 students, which is likely a lot lower than the actual number of students from elementary to high school that can all get free lunch. So again, I'd like to ask the board to consider helping our students and families through this, or to further research and look into how we can best implement it into our school district. And I'd also like to expand further on what Mr. Grosso said, is I agree that civic education is crucial from now and for the future, so yes to everything he said. I'd also like to add on that on top of civic education, we should be promoting civic participation. Like I've mentioned in the past, increasing student participation at the board level, but also bringing the SOE onto campus and presenting on elections, becoming a poll worker, everything, multiple times a year, or having voter registration tables at football games, or our students and community need to be well educated on the civic process, engaged and active. I have so much more, but that's it for now. Thank you for your time.
Jennifer Means is on deck, followed by Shannon Clement.
Good afternoon, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak. I'm Reverend Jay Wolin, minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church in Sarasota, a 500-member church of people of different beliefs. Our first principle is the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And, I was thinking about that when we took that pledge before, the Pledge of Allegiance, right? Liberty and justice for all. And all, not just straight white Christians, right? Also, it should include Muslims, it should include Hindu, it should include atheists as well, which I have many in my congregation. It should include straight, it should include gay, lesbian, transgender students. And I forgot to say, my pronouns are he, him, his. It's not that hard, and I think every child should have their name and pronouns acknowledged and respected. I believe in the parental rights of LGBTQ parents, or the rights of parents of LGBTQ students as well, to have their existence talked about, acknowledged, and respected in the classroom in the same manner that we talk about and represent straight cisgendered individuals or couples. A question, this is just a general question for the board. I went looking for about what books, all this talk about book banning, and I would just ask for some transparency. I was looking online to find out what books are even up for ban or were banned, so, and so if there's a way that you could point me to that, I would appreciate that. I would also encourage inclusive literature as well. The Penguins story is a fine story that I have told many of the children in my congregation. I also want to speak up against what I consider inappropriate African American history standards. Our students deserve to be taught honest history. Africans knew how to farm before they were enslaved and brought to America. Africans had maritime and fishing knowledge and practices before they were enslaved and brought to America. And West African people had a long history of iron making before they were enslaved and brought to America. And so I believe we need to address and make sure that those issues are taught in our schools at every age level. I do also want to bring up the issue, since I have 30 seconds left, about bathroom and locker room access for transgender and non-binary students. Nobody does this to just get into another bathroom. This is who they are, and we just ask that they be respected for who they are. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Shanna Clement is on deck, followed by Liz Barker, followed by Elizabeth Bornstein.
Good afternoon, Madam Vice Chairwoman, board members. My name's Jennifer Means, and I've been a Sarasota resident for 37 years and currently live in Nokomis. My husband has worked at Sarasota high schools for 30 years, coaching cross-country and track at Riverview for 25 years, which he sent the girls' cross-country team to the state meet 19 consecutive years and was proud to coach the 2004 team along with Coach Paul Opitz that won the state 4A title. I just had to get that in there. I love my husband. Our two children attended Sarasota County Schools K through 12, during which time I volunteered at Philippi Shores and Pineview. And then after they moved on, I continued to volunteer at Philippi Shores and encourage our local church, Trinity United Methodist on Shade, to support Philippi. This is the first time I have addressed this board. It's the third time I've come to a board meeting, although I do follow your board meetings and through the website and watching them on TV. After the firing of Superintendent Asplin, which came about against an overwhelmingly percentage of school staff supporting keeping him, I decided I'd pay a little bit more attention. I myself am fiscally conservative, maybe physically, I don't know. And I was dismayed at the cost involved in the human resource area of hiring, firing, paying severance cost, and moving costs for the superintendent. I believe as a board, you have the fiduciary responsibility to be good stewards of taxpayer money and be prudent, and make prudent decisions that will use our resources wisely. After attending the board meeting here in these chambers last month and hearing Liz Barker speak, and subsequently after that having the pleasure of meeting her, I read with interest an article in the Herald Tribune that Karen Rose was proposing to hire a consultant at a cost of $39,000 to study the need to redistrict. I watched the 919 school board workshop where this proposal was not discussed. I also watched the last board meeting in Venice where 20 of the 21 people who took time to attend the meeting and make public comment against hiring this consultant and wasting taxpayers' money, they were all against it. Not one speaker was for it. During the board discussion, board member Tom Edwards asked the question why and was given no plausible answer. Respectively, Madam Vice Chair, simply stating that an action is in no way politically motivated does not make it so. Members of the public proposed just wait 10 months till after your reelection. That will show. It was not done. Thank you.
Do we have anybody after Elizabeth Bornstein or no?
I
Is there
did
anybody
announce
on-
those names, thank
Okay.
you.
Just making sure. Hi, I'm Shannon Clement. I am a mother of a child currently enrolled in our public school system, and good afternoon, everyone. I don't have anything physically prepared today like I normally do because I felt it would be better if I actually went off the cuff this time around. I was going to plan on talking about the redistricting, and I wasn't planning on talking about it in the way I'm going to do right now because of comments that were made during today's workshop. Changed my mind on that. So what I'd like to kind of point out is optics. Optics are exceptionally important. And I say that because 2 meetings ago, Vice Chair Rose, you did put forth an idea to have a conversation about redistricting. Now, technically, no, that wasn't a motion, but it was the idea that you put forth and that got some agreement from the rest of the board. Now, I understand I might be reprimanded for making this political, but please understand this is coming from a nonpartisan, very nonpartisan, critical thinking, layperson's view from this side of the podium. That particular suggestion was made, and I held off making any comments about it because maybe we did need to redistrict. Maybe it would be a good idea to do so. I would like to see some information on that. No workshop was ever completed on that. At the very next board meeting, it was put on the agenda to vote for a contractor to go and move forward with the redistricting. At that point in time, I sent this board an email for myself to state that I didn't feel it was necessary to do so as a layperson because it had already been done, to a turn of $39K to be used when it had already been completed. And in addition to that, where was the data? Where was the actual justification to substantiate the reason given that we have grown exponentially to require it? Because Ms. Rose did provide the information that we have grown such, and that in growing such, we may need to redistrict. So a reason was given. I understood that reason, but where was the data to back that up? It didn't ever surface until today, and what surfaced today in the presentation provided by the contractor is that the maps we have in place right now are pretty good. Like, they're better than the maps he came up with, technically speaking. Interestingly enough, and I'm going to add this in because it was brought up today, if we were to take over the map that aligns with the commissioners' meeting, then Mrs. Rose would have to stay in District 2, which is where her current registered address happens to be. Her husband's address in Siesta Key would fall under District 1. So the only person that this redistricting actually affects is Ms. Rose. So please explain to me, as a layperson on this side, how we would not view that as potentially political. She made the suggestion, the maps were done up, the data is substantiated, and the only person at the end of the day it's actually going to affect would be the person that made the suggestion in the first place. We need to start listening to each other. We need to start workshopping ideas as they come up, as Mr. Edwards has requested over and over again. And that needs to be done not just for this board, but for all of us out here who are trying to inform you as best we can. We can't do that
Thank
without
you.
that input. Thank you.
And Elizabeth Bornstein is on deck, please.
Superintendent Connor, board members, good afternoon. I'm Liz Barker, mom of 4 kids in Sarasota County Public Schools, former school psychologist, candidate for school board, and president of the PTO at Lakeview Elementary School. First, I'd like to thank the board members for prioritizing funding for teacher compensation, expanding pre-K, teacher recruitment and retention, and school safety for the upcoming 2024 legislative session. As a former school psychologist, I was initially encouraged to see that SCS planned to advocate for an increase to the mental health assistance allocation as a vital component of school safety. I was then concerned to hear some members request that this language be removed at today's workshop. Recent events serve as a sobering reminder of the absolute necessity of mental health professionals in our schools. The narrative that mental health supports in schools are problematic is concerning and not representative of our community as a whole. School safety extends far beyond physical security measures. It encompasses the emotional and psychological safety of every child who walks through our doors. A nurturing and supportive environment is essential for students to feel comfortable expressing themselves, seeking help when needed, and developing the resiliency necessary to navigate challenging situations. Studies have consistently shown that educational environments with strong mental health supports are directly correlated with improved academic performance, increased attendance, and reduced disciplinary issues. In one large meta-analysis, K-12 students who participated in school-based social and emotional programs improved in grades and standardized test scores by 11 percentile points compared to a control group. When students feel seen, heard, and valued, they are more likely to engage actively in their education. In Sarasota County, our school psychologists, counselors, and social workers are managing caseloads approximately 3 to 5 times what is recommended. Lowering the ratio of these staff members to students would give them a greater ability to reach students. Although this may be challenging in the short term due to our upcoming loss of ESSER dollars and unknown financial impacts of universal vouchers, we should view enhancing our mental health supports as a long-term goal of the district. By protecting and expanding our mental health supports, we are not only safeguarding our students' emotional well-being, but also creating the conditions for a safer overall school environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth Bornstein.
Greetings, board attorney, student representative, board members, Superintendent Connor. I'm Elizabeth Bornstein. I'm a parent of a middle schooler in the district. And I'm coming here without a map. I'm coming here just to speak from my heart. I'm tired as a parent. I work full-time. I take care of a child. I take care of family members. I've been tending to family matters and was unable to join you in Venice at the last meeting. I come here representing other parents who are overextended as myself. We care about every student every day, our children, the students of this district. And I come here because I just have a sense that we need to restore our trust in the leadership of the school district. We finally were able to get Mr. Connor here after a terrible debacle of the exiting of our former superintendent. I made this sign, restore our trust, at that time, because trust was severely broken. We need transparency, we need collaboration, we need honesty of what the matters are before our community. I would love to spend my day watching the workshop and then coming here and speaking meaningfully to the issues. I would love to have an understanding of what you're actually voting on that directly translates to my child's education and me as a taxpayer in the community. I'm doing my best to show up. You can see there's only so many of us that can show up. We care out there. We care in here, but it's just not adding up because you're not showing up in the way that we need you to truly represent the children, the students, the teachers, the administrators, our community. There's so much grandstanding and smoke and mirrors, and I know we say it's being politicized. I'm not here as a Democrat or a Republican. I'm here as a parent. And then I feel like I'm getting admonished when I'm watching the meetings or when I'm in the dais because it's becoming political. Well, if we could just stick to every student every day, which I know many of you really truly believe in, and that's what brought you to your board responsibilities, we need you to rise up to that and let go of the minutia that gets in your way. You're just getting in your own way, and you're getting in our children's
you.
way. Please restore our trust.
That concludes public comment, and I do want to address the empathy for our former superintendent. I too would like to have not gone through that. I am going to state for the record that my empathy, my responsibility, and my accountability is with the students of this school district and the families that we serve, and the 30% of our students that had no benefit instructionally for 6 years. And that has been stated with other significant data on the record. I am extraordinarily excited that we have a superintendent that is done substantial work in strengthening our systems, our processes, and our procedures. You cannot get to instruction and learning unless you have strength in your systems and in your networks of how those systems and those departments are working together. So again, I empathize and respect the need for that to continue to come up, but I am going to state that my empathy and responsibility is for the students of this district. I will now open the public hearing for the instructional materials adoption process. This is a requirement pursuant to state law and board policy. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to speak about the instructional materials that are recommended for adoption by the board and to provide input to the board. The materials were advertised and have been available for public review. I will now ask Superintendent Connor to present this item. After his presentation, any member of the public may speak to provide input to the board on the proposed instructional materials.
Thank you, Vice Chair. At this time, the board is conducting a public hearing on the instructional materials being recommended for adoption. The list of materials is attached to the agenda item and includes materials for both K-12 math and social studies. The materials have been reviewed by a district adoption committee and are being recommended for adoption. As required by state statute, a 20-day public review of recommended materials and a public hearing is required before the board can vote for the adoption. The public review requires that the district provide digital access to the recommended materials via the district website, which we have completed. The public hearing today is to provide the opportunity for community members to share comments about the materials with the board. Let it be known that the board does not need to take action at this time, but will be asked to vote at the next regularly scheduled board meeting on October 17, 2023. At this time, you may call for public comments.
Do we have anyone that would like to speak about the adoption of instructional materials as indicated?
Yeah.
Seeing none, we will move on to the agenda. Superintendent Connor, do you have any additions or corrections to the agenda?
Yes, we have item 2, the recommended instructional materials for K-12 math and social studies was added to the public hearing. Item 6, the addendum was added to the instructional classified personnel report. And item 37, we actually are moving item 37 to the next meeting after some recommendations from our workshop this morning. So that will come on our next scheduled meeting.
Do I have approval of the consent agenda? A motion? Do I have a motion?
I move that we pass the consent agenda as presented.
Second. We have a motion and we have a second that the board approves the amended consent agenda consisting of items as a whole with action recorded as if it had been taken separately. We're going to do a voice vote. We have technology issues, surprise, surprise. Mr. Edwards.
Yes.
Mr. Enos.
Aye.
Mrs. Marinelli.
Yes.
And the vice chair votes yes, and that is a unanimous 4-0 to approve the consent agenda. Does anyone have have a comment regarding the consent agenda? Seeing none, we will move to new business. Item number 37, that the board approve. Oh, that's pulled.
Yep.
We've pulled the legislative, the 2024 legislative agenda item, and that will be forthcoming. So we will move on to board member comments.
Nothing from me.
Mr. Enos.
Well, thank you. Just everybody, the month of October, other than it's my birthday month, so please, gifts are thankful. Anyway, outside of that, this is also National Bullying Prevention Month. As something that back, I think it was about 16 years ago, myself and Miss Marinelli and Daryl Reich actually wrote the very first bullying policy the Sarasota County School District ever had. I can say as we just came up in the recent policy review that we had, bullying is so significant, especially through social media right now. And I would tell all the parents as we look forward to educationally, we know that cell phones and social media is a part of all of our students' lives, as was my 3 students, my children, that I would recommend you to make sure that you're monitoring it. Because ultimately a kid that is being bullied, all they wanted to do is to stop, and a lot of times they don't come forward because of the bullying, because ultimately they're hoping it goes away. So with that being said, please monitor your children's social media, and this is National Bullying Prevention Month, and bullying is absolutely, my time of the 22 years as being the chief and worth the sheriff's office is, there were some terrible tragedies that have happened because of bullying. So this being Bullying Prevention Month, please listen to your children. Monitor their social media. And with that, Madam Chair, thank you.
You're very welcome. Ms. Marinelli.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I just have a few things that I would like to respond to. I'd like to thank Sebastian for bringing the proposals for civics. And I want to also thank you for being professional. As a 17-year-old, you act sometimes more like an adult than the adults do. So thank you for that. And we will be discussing with the superintendent. Might not be exactly like your proposal, but we will bring that up. So thank you very much. Because I really appreciate when students bring things to our attention. I'd also like to address the council ratios, and for the public that doesn't know, that Sarasota County Schools has been addressing the council ratios for many years. Are they where they need to be? The national average is 250 to 1. At the elementary, we're 400 to 1. But that is what the referendum dollars are being used for, is to bring those ratios down. So that is something that I have when my years as a school counselor in this district and as the supervisor of student services was always addressed and will continue to be addressed. And I have to say, it's always been a 5-0 with this board, that we've all taken that very seriously. And then also, on a positive note, I would, now that it is outside on the awning, the brown awning, every student, every day, that was brought up months ago in honor of our past superintendent, Wilma Hamilton, who passed away. And I would like to remind everybody that is in honor of her, and then ask the superintendent to maybe possibly have somebody in your cabinet to contact her husband, Dr. Bill Delp, who worked for this district, to let him know that that's what we have done, even though the whole saying was every student, every day, whatever it takes. We narrowed it down to every student, every day. I think that Dr. Delp would appreciate that because, like I said, he worked in our district for many, many years. And I think he would appreciate to know that we all still hold her very dearly in our hearts. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marinelli. Very well said. I think it's important to reiterate that this board, the one thing that we do agree on is providing all the supports for our students that we can possibly do with the funding that exists, and we have definitely been focused on increasing guidance counselors and like staff to serve students in our schools. The Superintendent Connor, did you bring up the Ripple Effect Awards from the Brancic Foundation? I saw some pretty excited teachers. One, Margie Smith, I know well.
We actually had a great opportunity to go to 5 teachers across this district, and the Barancic Foundation, in honor of Margie Barancic's birthday, does the Ripple Effect, and that award is basically to recognize teachers. You think of a stone, when you drop a pebble into a body of water, it creates a ripple, and that ripple goes all the way out as far as you can see. And that little bit of that little pebble makes a huge impact, and that's what it really represents. And Margie's birthday is in October, and so we were able to identify 5 teachers across the district, and I'll be sure on our October 17th to make sure we recognize them formally in my presentation. But those teachers were awarded a certificate and $5,000 from the Barancic Foundation. So we thank them for their support, and what a tremendous honor to go and present that to these teachers who have done some fantastic work in our school district.
Thank you for sharing that. Love seeing those recognitions and happy staff members. I'm going to respectfully, this is election season, and the Venice Area Democratic Club did a call to action to come to the board meeting and support their candidates. And I'm going to say support any candidate that you want. I think that that's what makes this a great country. And do so respectfully. I think that bringing that call to action into the boardroom is bringing politics into the boardroom, and I think that we can all do a service to our students with a focus in on the reading, math, science, content area, and all the core content areas, social studies, civics, Mr. Gerstle, and supporting our staff. Thank you very much for all being here, and it's a great board meeting. Thank you. We are adjourned.